Rotarians. I'm going to give the bio on my speaker. Faith, family, focus, and fun created me. I love aiming to live life to the fullest and I'm excited to help others do the same. Graduated from college with an aviation degree, I grounded myself after marrying another pilot. Shifting gears to life and health coaching, I now pilot people through the fog to help them land where they want to be. I help you become the person God created you to be. Her certificates, she's a commercial pilot, certified flight instructor, monastery certified teacher, certified health coach, certified life coach, certified master coach in the transformation of coaching methods. I'm now honored to introduce my daughter, Lori Haver-Zacharias.
Thank you, Dad. Otherwise known as Baka. That's what just so Nadia knows over here, we've got a little thing going on here. But thank you, awesome. Hello, Rotarians. I'm excited to be here. I've always had a little thing for Rotary. I've always loved it. I think I was probably Nadia's age the first time I ever got to come here. And we got to visit several times with my Grandpa Doden, being a Rotarian forever and ever, all my uncles, and then my dad, now my brother-in-law. So I think highly of this club. I love it. I will come here anytime you want, and I love it. So I might be second fiddle today, but we're going to talk a little bit about you working to your full potential. I've had the honor of getting to do this for the last 5 to 10 years and learning what that means. Are you hearing me okay? I feel like I'm, okay, awesome. So before you run away and you're like, oh, this sounds like just, a lot of people are like, I don't want to hear it. I just want to let you know whether we're 5 or 25 or 95, we can always work on ourselves, right? There's always something we can work on to grow. And if it's not yourself that you want to think about today, you can think about your club, the Rotary Club, right? I remember when this used to be wall to wall, right, with people, and still vibrant though. It's still good to see everybody. And I have to say, I got a little nervous when my first grade teacher was going to be here. She taught me so much, Mrs. Taylor, so it's so good to see you. I love it. The last 5 or 10 years have been vibrant. I've loved my career. It's been wonderful moving in, but life has not always felt quite that bright. There was a time in my life where everything seemed very black. And that was about 20 years ago. And I remember it was 2 a.m., so it was dark out. It did feel dark. But I literally couldn't see to walk down the hallway to get to my baby to feed him. And I remember just feeling miserable. I was a little bit postpartum, depressed, just not myself, not even finding reason to really want to live, not knowing what my worth was, and just wondering, what the heck? How can this parenting be so hard? Couldn't figure it out. If you think about it, as my dad told you, I have a pilot's license, a commercial pilot's license. I've taught doctors, I've taught executives and lawyers to fly. I've helped them get their pilot's license, and that's against the natural aim, right? Flying is not supposed to be something that's natural. It goes against all the elements. But here I was parenting thinking, isn't that supposed to be a natural process to life? Aren't I supposed to be figuring this out? But I couldn't, and I just wasn't getting it. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been there in a time in your life where it's like this project at work or this group of people, this should seem easy, but it just seems like such a strain. It seems so hard to get through it. So maybe you've never blacked out like me, but you probably have had some of those hiccups in life where it's just hard to get through. I'm a mom of 3. We have a 28-year-old who just moved out to Colorado, and the baby that I could not feed very well is now going to be 21 next month, and he's vibrant, and we're going to have our first drink together. Well, maybe not our first, but it should be our first in about a month. But all the mess ups, all the mistakes, all the depression, everything, he still turned out pretty well. So we'll see. I'm sure there's a few things you could have done better. But I want to allow you to dream, relax, and just really dig into yourself or into your club, whichever way you want to think, in these next 15, 20 minutes, and just really think about how you can work to full potential. Now, when you think about this, full potential can be open, and you can be thinking of a lot of different things. When you think about your full potential, you might want to think long-term. At the my last breath on this life, what do I want? What do I want my story to look like, right? Or you might want to think just in this season of life. Maybe a season of life of your parenting, of your career, of whatever season that might be. Maybe you want to think I just want to get through this week. I just got to get through this day. Some of us are just trying to survive, right? But our goal at U2FP, and that's what I founded, was a company called U2FP, that's U to Full Potential. And God put this on my heart about 10 years ago, and I began forming it about 5 years ago, and it's coming together. There's a lot bigger vision than what we're doing right now, and I'll share that in just a little bit. But really, we would like to help each individual or each community work to their full potential. And when we invest in ourselves, we invest in other people, which as well. What is potential, first of all? If you think about what is potential, it's just the capable of becoming or the capable of being, right? That's really what potential is. So what are you capable of becoming? What is Rotary capable of being? What might that be? But working to full potential could be a debate between all of us. So as you think about this, don't think about your neighbor, don't think about your mom or your kids or your spouse or what your first grade teacher might think. I want you to think about what you think. Make it about you. I think a lot of people think of it differently. If you think of, I think some people would say working to full potential would be if you start as a janitor in a corporation and you ended up the CEO, you might think, I worked to full potential in that career, right? That might be working to your full potential. I had a friend though that I was getting to know about 2 years ago. She was in my life group and I didn't know her and she didn't know me. Neither one of us knew what we did, anything, and we were on a hike just getting to know each other. And about halfway through the hike, and I couldn't get out of this, she says, well, I lost my baby 2 days after it was born, after she was born. Her name was Anya. And I was like, it just kind of stopped me in my tracks. But what really stopped us was when she said, but my baby worked to full potential. She did not know what I did. I had not shared my story yet. And I was like, wow, can you tell me more? And she said, you know, it took that baby to get my husband and I and our family back into the church and back into God, and we now have our faith back in our life. And they felt like that was really her full purpose for being there. I also think of somebody like Mother Teresa. So my sister's gonna laugh, because I love talking about Mother Teresa. She's one of my favorite beings ever. I just think if this was a person who could have lived with luxury, right? She had an opportunity to live a very luxurious life, and she chose to get on a boat, go over to India, and work with the least of these. She did whatever God called her to do. And to me, that was working to full potential. So we all have just different visions of what working to full potential might be. And one other person I want to share before you start to think about what might be full potential to you is I had a friend, Stephanie. We went to Ohio State together, and I actually introduced her to flying. And I was down visiting her. This has been 20, 25 years ago. I was down visiting her after we had flown some people down to Orlando, and I was staying with her for the weekend. It was about 8 o'clock at night, and that was back when the Friends episode had just come out. So if any of you know the Friends episode, we didn't have streaming back then, we didn't have taping, so if you didn't sit down for the show, you were gonna miss it, right? So I was getting ready to sit down in her house and watch it, and she said, what are you doing? And I was like, I was just gonna sit down and watch a show. I was thinking, we've had a long day, isn't it about that time? Isn't that what we do? She said, no way, we do not watch fictional characters when we go live our own life. And it really hit me. I was like, wow. So I've had that ingrained in me for 25 years to really think about what I'm watching. Now, I'm not against TV. I love to use it for learning and live shows, especially, you know, sports games, that type of thing. It's great. But I do start to think, what Stephanie always taught me is to live my life, not someone else's. I think that's a really good thing. When you feel better, you do better, right? Would you agree? When you feel better, you make better decisions, you treat people better, you can work much better to your full potential. And I feel like that's what we do, is we really want everybody to feel like they have a unique purpose to live, you have one story to write. A quote we love to live by is, to work to your full potential, you must have a clean heart, a clear mind, and a balanced schedule. If you just took those three things and really thought about it, that would work. Clean heart, if you think about it. We have a minister in the room, right? Yes.
Kinda.
He could.
It's questionable.
If we just clean up our hearts, think about it. So much comes from our heart. If you think about it when you say, oh my gosh, she has such a clean heart. I just love her heart. Or you might hear someone say, he had no heart in that. So if you think about it, our heart makes so much up. It really does. If we think about our mind does so much for us. Everything starts in our mind, right? Our thoughts? Our thoughts create our emotions. Our emotions create our actions, typically, and our actions create our outcomes. So if you don't like your outcomes, you might have to change the way you're thinking. You just have to go back, and it takes a little bit of work. But there's usually, and then finally our balanced schedule, and I think that can be the hardest one, is working on that balanced schedule. Especially, I know everybody in this room, I know a lot of you, and you're wearing a lot of hats, right? So it takes a lot of managing. We gotta manage our calendars, we gotta manage our energy, we gotta manage all of that. Isn't that great? It takes a lot to do that. 3 things I think to help with your schedule, to balancing that schedule, is there's 3 things that kind of clutter it up, right? We've got 3 different things. One is our mind. Our mind could be cluttered. Sometimes we're thinking about things that aren't even serving us, aren't even keeping us aligned with who we want to be. 2 is the environment. My dad used to have a furniture store right down the road, and if you went to buy furniture, it probably would be a good idea to clear out your old furniture before you bring in the new furniture, right? We just got to clear that clutter. And the 3rd way is your schedule. What's on your schedule that's not serving you? So much of what we believe is powerful. What you believe is powerful. So if you just stopped for a minute and thought, what would it be to work to my full potential? Just think about what you would write down. What would it be that you would write down that would help you know what would work to full potential? And whatever you said is fine, because what you believe is powerful and what you believe becomes reality. That is the first part to the coaching experience. We really try to reframe people. When they think they want to be a doctor, but they really only feel like they could be a janitor, they're probably not going to get to doctor stamps, right? It's going to take some shifts in believing. Our world's changing at a rapid pace, right? Most businesses are having a hard time even keeping up, making changes, doing this, doing that, especially in small towns where we have just very few employees, right? There's a lot that needs to happen. But with the right mentality, we can do it. I would say, Dad, you really helped me with my mentality. Did you know that? So I was the shortest one in the class. Bryce can confirm, right? We graduated together. I don't think there was anybody shorter than me. I think I'm telling the truth. Anyways, I loved basketball. I loved playing basketball. It was one of my favorite sports. Not necessarily going to get picked for the team, right, when you're the shortest one. But he taught me all the tricks of how to go in and use my speed and different skill set that I would have to be able to play against these players, which was great. And I think from my sophomore year to senior year, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure I started almost every year on the varsity team. So you can do it. I just had to shift that I could do it, and he helped me do that. Another way that I think that you helped me do that was I really wanted to be in the travel industry when I graduated from high school. So I thought, oh, I'll be a flight attendant or, a travel agent. That sounds great. And he said, well, why not just be the pilot? And I said, you could do that? I had no idea. So he proved to me that I could. Took me to ground school, and the rest is history. It's really just a shift in those belief systems, right? It's a shift. And you probably wouldn't guess this, or maybe you would, but out of their 4 children, I definitely had the biggest fear of public speaking, for sure. I have proof of it. My mom was always going around with a camcorder everywhere she went, and I was always dodging underneath the table so that I wouldn't be on the camera or have to speak. I was so extremely scared of it. So to work for your full potential, you have to have a clean heart, a clear mind, and a balanced schedule. Our friend Charles Stanley used that, and I just love it. So a lot of people ask how coaching works. Bryce is dying for me to tell you. So I just want to share, coaching is one of those where we use a lot of different techniques, activities, a lot of questioning, just to work on reframing that brain. And then if it doesn't work, I bring my dad in and say, this is what he did for me. So, no, just kidding. But It is. It's really great. We have a lot of different things. One, we do 3 different programs. I don't normally just stand up here and speak. We do more like workshops, where we'll do like 1-hour workshops that work really well. I've mostly been speaking with women in churches, so I love working with women's groups, faith-based. We work a lot with women of faith who are insecure and help them become more confident in who they want to be, who they were created to be. That's really our true vision. We do that. We also work in groups. Well, we're working 10 to 20 groups, which works really well in both the workforce or in the church, either one. And then the third and the fastest way to get results is one-on-one. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching as well. So it's been pretty fun. How many of you, I'm just, by a show of hands, I'm just curious, how many have heard of life coaching? Okay, you've all heard of it. Has anybody used it?
I was a guinea pig.
She was. I think it's great. Well, I love that you've heard of it, because it's a newer industry. It really is. We've heard of coaches our whole life, right? We sports coaches were the big thing, and I love it now because there's hardly a business that isn't using a coach now for the business sense. I think there's a lot of business coaches out there, but now they're starting to refer. I've been referred from some Auburn and Fort Wayne. They're just having their people work with life coaches because they're finding it's more of the personal life that's holding them back at work than actually their business sense or their business savvy. So it can work out really well. But there's every type of coach out there now, which is great. I think it's going to be huge in the next decade, and I think it's really great for our mental health. If you think about it, we all high-five each other if we go to the physical gym, right? If we go to the YMCA or the gym to work our muscles, we're like, yeah, good job. But it seems like we get a little embarrassed when we say you have to go to a therapist or a counselor or something like that, and everything starts in the mind. I don't know why we're not working harder on our mental muscles. If you think of, Paul taught us in the New Testament. If you read the New Testament, I know one person does here, but Romans 12:2, he taught us we have to constantly be renewing our mind, right? So everything starts in our mind, and I think it's so, so important. Awesome. I will ask, is there any questions before I wrap up here?
Is this something, to me, it would be nice when I was in school, school was a rough time for a lot of people. And to have a life coach that you could go to in school, to me, would be great. We had a guidance counselor, and I never even saw the guy. But,
Yeah.
I'm going back 50 years. But,
That's a great question. I love that. And actually, I was just asked last night, Angola, I'm related to the counselor there, and she said, would you be interested in life coaching at the school? And that was the first time I had been asked that. So that's a really good thing, and I think it would be great. So I do know that the counselors work with the kids one-on-one, but I also know they don't have enough time to work with most of them. They're usually helping the ones that are the most challenged. Great question.
So where's your location? Where do you call?
So I live in Hamilton, and that's where my office is. And I do work with some people in office, which is great, but majority are Zoom or phone. And it's neat. A lot of my clients like phone better than Zoom. We're all about Zoom now. It's good.
I said, what's a Zoom?
Yeah, it's not your car.
There's your first client.
There you go.
I'm working to find the right coach for Bryce.
Laura and I had this discussion a few years ago. She said,
We did.
because I don't know where to start with you, but you need some help. I said, you're telling me.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I do think that we were all made with a purpose in mind. I think everybody has a unique challenge here, your own story, and I think that's where I feel so strong with my work and with what we're doing, and I love it. I'm getting to bond with so many other coaches and just build our network. But I think helping someone have a more meaningful, purposeful life can do so much. It really can. And there's a lot of people just stuck. They know what they want to do, but they're not sure, right? And so we don't want anybody missing out on the life they were really designed to have when they just had to jump over the creek, or they just had to go around. They just had a little detour or a little delay or a hiccup type of thing they want to get in. And I don't want anyone missing out on what my friend taught me. Remember Stephanie? She taught me not to worry about the neighbors across the street or the fictional people on the TV, but to live my life, right? The one life I have. And I didn't share, some people know here, but I lost my friend Stephanie at the age of 26. So another great story for another day, if you lose your speaker next year. I will share about Stephanie's journey because it's a pretty interesting one. But think back to what you thought about what would it do for you to work to full potential? What would it look like? What would it be? And again, it might be a season, it might be till the end of your stage, but what would it look like? If you took one little bite into that. And I want you to think about habits are what create us, right? It's those habits, those daily habits. And if the trajectory of your life, is it taking you where you're visioning your life purpose, your full potential? Or do you maybe need to put a hard stake in the ground and think, I gotta make some changes. I gotta figure out how to do this. Whether you use a life coach, a therapist, a counselor, a pastor, a good mentor, a good friend that will be honest with you, I just think it's so good if we all have that accountability piece to keep moving forward. I think it's so good. I think we were all made to be abundant, and I hope you all go and do just that. Thank you so much.